Dear participants, let me please to introduce the main results of the study income, consumer spending, and well-being of Ukrainian households. The first may be theoretical background of this research. For explaining connection between change in consumption patterns and level of households' well-being, commonly used two fundamental principles. The first, that households which relatively lower income are characterized by relatively lower diversification of consumer spending, primarily because they spend bigger part of their income on food. This thesis was confirmed by numerous empirical studies, science classic Ernst Engel works to recent models of consumer behavior. The share of expenditure on food tends to decrease with income growth. A second thesis, income growth is accompanied by increasing diversification of consumer spending, and the leading role in this process plays reducing the share of expenditure on food. The strong wording of Engel law is doubling the income of a typical representative household is accompanied by a decline in the share of household food spending by 10 percentage points. Research focus and initial hypothesis. Maybe regularities mentioned above have received strong empirical confirmation for cases of long-term growth of average households' economic well-being. Unfortunately, Ukraine in the 21st century shows an example of long periods of income stagnation for a significant part of households. Accordingly, the initial hypothesis of our study was that the laws that confirmed regarding to the long-term growth of a real income could not serve as a reliable guide for explaining the national model of consumer behavior in conditions of long-term stagnation of income, especially in case of a significant reduction in the well-being of a large part of the population. And used methodology. We use it for modeling with simple linear additive function, the first element of which is close to the working function, and the second element is a very simplified replacement of Taylor-proposed mathematical tools term for incorporating the relative price into the working model. Proposed approaches differ by using the cumulative rate of growth of consumption amount as a dependent variable. Thus, cumulative rate of total spending and relative price growth were used as explanatory variable. According to calculating own price and spending elasticity coefficients. For estimating real quantity of commodity consumed, own price elasticity and its total consumer spending elasticity, we have calculated corresponding coefficients for all commodity categories. For this, we use the formula that you can see on this screen. The main results. The higher total expenditure and own price elasticity of real quantity food consumed indicates the consumption patterns of Ukrainian households are very similar with the low-income countries. The first column, total spending elasticity, directly indicates a low level of satisfaction even the basic needs of Ukrainian household, and as a result, minimal opportunities for households to allocate own resources of consumption on consumption of commodity groups, which are more related with improving the educational level and healthcare quality, increasing of access to modern communication, and integration into the mechanism of social interaction. Second column on price elasticity indicates how households' vulnerability on fluctuation in relative price and incomes. Even minimal adverse change in market conditions or deprivation from government programs of social assistance leads to a significant threat for an acceptable lifestyles, for ability to improve on social status. And as a result of our calculation was obtained such classification of main commodities by total spending elasticity. And according to the coefficients of income, total spending elasticity of consumption obtained in our article, we have the following classification of commodity categories, as you can see on the screen. The classification of such important goods as healthcare into low quality goods is a fundamental difference of the Ukrainian model of consumer behavior, and in our opinion, it indicates a clear insufficiency of the available resource of most households for normal interaction with institutions that provide paid medical services. For 5 commodity categories, we also compared the actual indices of real change in quantity consumed with similar indicators, which were calculated on basis the elasticity coefficients obtained in our and model developed by Seal and Dragme. Elasticity coefficients, which were designated by Seal and Dragme for food and furnishing household equipment, have demonstrated quite good explanatory power, but estimated coefficients for both models clearly deviate from the actual values, which were observed for clothing and footwear, as well as for housing, water, electricity, and other foods. The main results. One of the reasons for the significant differences between the predicted by models and actual dynamics of the consumption for range of commodities may be explained by the phenomenon similar to the Giffen effect, but applied to groups of goods with different quality within the same commodity category. For example, a significant price increase for branded clothing may lead to the displacement of higher quality and more expensive goods by cheaper but lower quality substitutes. Such significant change in the real well-being of of consumers may not be reflected in data on expenditures for certain product groups, or data by the dynamics of the specific weight of such expenditures in aggregate consumer expenditures. So even a decrease in the share of expenditure on food, which is traditionally considered as a sign of well-being increasing, may be accompanied by a forced adaptation to rising of price, which negatively affects the quality of life and economic well-being of a significant share of households. For example, the displacements of higher quality and more expensive food commodities by cheaper substitutes, the consumption of which will have negative consequences for health of the population in the long term. Accordingly, traditional methods of assessing the dynamics of well-being based on change in the structure of consumer expenditures may prove to be powerless to ensure both an adequate to reality estimating of the population well-being and the contribution of certain commodity groups and industries producing such commodities, such goods, to the actual dynamics of the population's well-being. And to solve the mentioned problem, we propose the following directions of the common approach to analyzing the structure of consumer spending development. First, supplement the analysis of and modeling of the consumer spending structure by analysis using indices of the real size of consumption, combined with localization of causes affecting fluctuation in relative prices by commodity groups. It should create preconditions to clarify the contribution of a certain industries and commodity groups in the observed dynamics of consumer well-being. And the second, for the goals, for the commodities that have been produced and which large-scale government supply, we propose to investigate the dynamics of real size of consumption and relative prices, coupled with changes in the principles, objectives, priorities, and levers of government policy in related sectors of the economy. It should promote to clarify the evaluation of government programs, taking in account the rate of growth, consumption, and availability of goods and services for different groups of the population. Thanks for your attention.